Yeah, Chucky, man. The fentanyl is no joke. It's weird. I just think what happens is when you have all these old drug traffickers that know what they're doing, they get taken away, and it becomes more like with the opioid epidemic, and now you have more people touching it, and something like that happens. You know what's funny? I heard about the cat. It's not said that way, cat. I heard about that drug too. Whereas I have a real good friend who's from Pakistan, and I know it comes from like those type of fields too, right? And it's so I heard about that.
Did you ever see the Mormons or any of that in Mexico?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. They're prevalent. They're everywhere. To be
Really?
honest with you, they're big Mormons, and I was actually locked up with one of the Mormons. Who massacred like 7, 8 dudes. And I'm gonna tell you something. Like to them, they're 100% Mexican too. They're not. They don't even. They're Mexican. They're straight. It's crazy. Speak better Spanish than us and all that. It's crazy. And just you guys know, I'm working on this book, man. Hopefully, it'll be out, man, soon, soon. Big shouts out, man, to anyone out there, man, who's suffering from that addiction, bro. Which is a will, man. There's a way. I think you have to have motivation. Get the help. Just the same way we're able to go, and get that hit. You could go get that help, man. And you try everything. Turn to Jesus Christ if you can. And I think that there's always has to be a bigger motivation than us because we could, you know, I think when it comes to how what we want for ourselves as individuals, we always could be like passive about it. But when it comes to I know for my children, I'll do anything, first. And I think that you know everyone's capable of fighting off those addictions, and if you can't do it by yourself, man, get the help, man. Your family needs you right now. It's like you know you're gambling every day with your life every time you take a hit. I don't think it's worth it.
You're a brave motherfucker. You play powder games in 2024.
Whoever's the Kenyan Irish cartel, um no, me personally, no, I didn't do it. I didn't work with them, but could there be someone in the business? Yeah, for sure. Why not?
When you bounced last time, they asked your brother, how did you find God? He put some of it on where he had been, at the door. You know what I'm saying? Been kidnapped at the door. Who knows how this can end? Basically, retired to the idea that it's over and it's a wrap, and that was part of him finding God. Where did your walk with God come, or Jesus come in the midst of all of this, or was there a point in
Well,
time?
I was raised Catholic. Believe it or not, my parents, my mom, my parents took me to mass. So I feel like it was in a lesson. I feel like I grew up knowing, the good and the bad, and I grew up, Catholic, and for the most part, I think that always kept me grounded. Me understanding, I think the biggest thing that would make you think twice about anything. Let's face it, and it always says God says, be fearful of Him, right? It's to be fearful of what could happen in your life, right? And I think that we disregard God at times when we make decisions, Lord, and it's like but we will be fearful of saying, "Well, I can't cooperate." We'll be fearful of certain other things, right? Just in life. Um, but I think it was always in me. I think that's why crossing the line with certain matters. It's easy for me to say, "Oh, we made business decisions," but I think always and foremost, I just didn't. I didn't want to be a liar in terms of trying to be act like this tough guy that I felt like I wasn't. Because I was a God fearing man forever, even as a kid, right? Does that make sense? First. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah, it was
I
always there. It was
see.
always present.
Yeah, I feel like all right. I always look at this like you guys know the movie Malibu's Most Wanted, but look what I found out, right? And you probably gonna agree with this. I found out that there's a lot of dudes in the streets in every level that are Malibu's Most Wanted. Meaning they're plain, but you put them in a situation and you will never know. And it takes a real one to know the difference. Does that make sense, Shy? So basically, what I'm saying is that I accepted and I put God first, like because I was fearful of Him. I didn't want that to change me because if I wasn't, I could have easily faked it and said I'm a gangster, I'm a killer dude, or whatever the case is, right?
And just
And then
gone through
guess
the
what?
motions.
I would have been the best actor in the world. Does that make sense? I would have been the best actor in the world, and then I think so. Just think about that even early on as a kid when I was making choices, and I I grew up in I guess in my environment where I was like I didn't have to really be violent or have to deal with any of that BS. You know what I'm saying? But no, don't forget, my father taught me how to use a gun at 8, 9 years old. I was shooting my first AK at that age, 10. Didn't mean I had to use it. Does that make sense? So I think that I always said, well, I didn't want it to change me, and I felt like I was like believed in God, and I do believe that when I made that decision to cooperate, I didn't think about fear in that way, But once I was in the States and once I started kind of like zooming out and say, damn, what did we just do? What did we just go through? What was this year like? I started to believe like, holy, God does have a bigger plan for us. God is in my life some way, somehow, even though I was doing, you know, wrong. But I think it took for me I feel like I had that, man, security, I think, to look beyond me, that I was not going to, as it goes, it says that you're never alone if you turn to God, right? And that's how I felt. But it still, again, took some years where, you know, and in 2013, man, at 2013, around that 2012, I was actually blessed to have a pastor from South Korea, and he's an amazing pastor in the prison I was with. And I would go to Bible study, and he would look at me and something ask me questions, and I guess I felt like I wasn't worthy of it. And I remember him telling me, like, brother, like, doesn't matter what you did or about your past, Jesus loves you, and you could do a lot of good. And I think I really started to really just open my mind, and I always felt like I believed in God. I just didn't know much, and I really fell in love with uh, a story in the Bible, and all the stories of how just countless testimonies of people who were worse than me, who were able to switch their life and do something better and had that calling. And I think that I really gave myself to God. I said, you know what, I'm gonna give my life to you, as I did. I put my life in His hands other times, and it didn't fail me. Some I always tell you that some of the decisions that we made, some of the decisions my brother and I made, or our family made, were not of were selfish ones. Were like you know stuff that we know better, but we do different. And that, I think, has always been our problems. But 2013, I started like just wanting to like know more than I already did, and I think that it's when I started to kind of find my calling and saying, okay, you know what, God has a plan for me. So when everyone asks, well, why are you doing this, why are you doing that, I really feel like I'm supposed to. I don't like force anything anymore. I put my life in His hands, and I feel like loved, and I feel like if I could come out of that and be blessed and be here, and He has blessed me. Of course, it comes with suffering, right? Um, Suffering that all those suffering moments that we've had in our life have always turned out to be blessings. So I think that's where I'm at. And I think that hopefully for all those people that don't believe, I think that you have to just find it for yourself and always know that um, Jesus loves all of us, and we all have it. Opportunity to go to Him and change your life. And I will tell you something. One part what I feel like being a Christian is that I don't make those decisions for anyone else, or I'm not gonna judge for someone, I'm not gonna judge someone else's life. I always say, well, this is my relationship with God, and this is my life, this is my testimony, and I'll take all those, hate comments or whatever the case is, like I said before, Jesus, had more haters than anything.
I was looking at the comments in the Dan Crenshaw interview. There's a different group of people we don't know that the sin on your part is different To one person, it was the trafficking narcotics that was the sin. But to another whole group of people, it's the cooperation that was the sin. And the way you say with religion, you like it covers everybody, but you're not in a place to put nobody in, to try to put nobody on or judge anybody for what
Mm-hmm.
they do. In the same mentality, it's like these trolls in the chat. That's what they want me to do. Let's just say I was a different religion. I was a Muslim, or let's just say I'm an atheist, or let's just say I'm an agnostic. They want me to shoot down everything you just said about your religion,
Mm-hmm.
everything that you just said about how it feels, everything that you just said about your experience, right? What the fuck I look like doing that?
I'm coming from a perspective of how I feel because like I remember like just to give you like um just my the way I'm careful even responding to because like I feel like everyone's entitled to their opinion. At the same time, it's like when I'm telling you about my belief, that's my belief,
Right.
and how I feel. You know what I mean? So like right there, you're smart enough or intelligent enough to be like, it's what he believes, it's what his belief is, it's what how he wants to live his life. And if we're men, just of any men, then I'd have to be like, you know what, Shai, you love to eat, hot peppers, without drinking soda or water. And I have to respect that, like, but I mean that's a weird analogy, but I remember I used to feel unworthy, especially when you meet people who know the Bible, you know,
Mm.
from front to end, and in different languages. And I also learned that a lot of those people who focus too much on the Bible and the words that they don't live a life through Christ or life that I think that's Christian like, and they're gonna be the first ones to judge, the first ones to make a comment and stuff like that. Mm, I think that we're all given the choice. We all have different jobs, right? And you guys know the saying that says that, God prepares those who he calls on, right? And I feel like I've been called upon, for something bigger than me. That's my belief. You know, at times I make selfish decisions or say things that are not, that don't go with what I'm getting into. And I say, like, the part of understanding what a Christian is that we know we're not perfect and we know that we're gonna, make mistakes, and I could always come back and try to do better the next day. But I think overall in my heart, I think it was Jesus has always been present, and that's how I live by. But I know that you're kind of be put in one of those situations, but you know like Jesus preached to everyone and anyone. Would you agree? He didn't pick his audience. It was to whoever you know was around, whoever who he believed it was, kings or what they thought were kings or peasants, at the time, whoever he didn't pick. And like when, I sit down with different people, or I could sit down with a congressman, or I could sit down here, or just be here. To me, it's no different. I'm not, it's hard because I'm not comparing myself to Jesus Christ at all. I'm just saying, I have these opportunities and I'm going to share, what I believe in, as I always have. And I think that it's really up to how you run your channel and what your belief is and how you feel about it. I do see the other side of you too. That you always say, "Well, this is for everyone." You get me? And I think that you're not biased in that term. I also feel like, I'm also a type of person. I'm a Christian that I feel like I'm not gonna judge someone. You know,
Right.
and then it means like I don't get mad if someone has their opinion about me or my life or stuff like that. I focus more on someone who needs help, man.
Yeah.
And see how I could help them and be like, that's I'd rather get uh put my attention on that, man.
Jay, what's the hardest part of going from a criminal to a civilian?
That's a good one. I think were you the one that asked that Henry Hill question? Here's what I'm going to tell you what I believe in. I've been around other people like, and it's funny because a lot of my guys who were in the street before, I think we're all relatable, but I never cared about, if for those people who were in prison with me, if there's anybody in there or whatever, they're gonna know I never cared about like certain things. Like certain things don't bother me. I don't mind waiting in line. I don't mind, you know, like not having things my way or power. Or, I don't care about those things. Um, I guess it's weird because when you're doing wrong like that, it seems like you're just always focused. Well, I'm already breaking this big old laws, so forget everything else. And I think the biggest part of me being just a civilian, I think, is always remembering, that I have to abide by all the laws, no matter what. Like if it's a traffic, like now I'm like, damn, I can't speed. I can't, sure, certain things that you're like, you used to, but I think being in prison for such a long time, you have no choice but to abide by their rules, and it kind of helps. Um, Let me see. I think for me, the hardest part has been like to be able to transition from my past life is that I can't really have any new friends, because my life doesn't fit with, my personality doesn't fit with, what I could actually say to those people today. Does that make sense, Shy? They ask too many questions, and I just don't. There's certain things we don't have answers for. So I think that's hard. Like before, it's easy for you to be like, this person, you're kind of proud of it, and it's like, you know, you could make us, friends and stuff like that. I think today, I think that's been the hardest part is that I have to kind of hide my past, so that doesn't allow me to be able to like make friends or have relationships of that sort.
Have you had times where you peeped somebody that didn't peep you, or somebody got close? You don't have to answer that if it's a security concern, but just curious, like if you've ever run into anybody like you didn't expect to run into.
Um, I think my brother had a couple more of those instances. I do have like there's been a couple situations where it's like I felt like it was getting too close to home and stuff, and I had to kind of like back off a little bit, just because it's just in the back of your head. You know what I'm saying? But nah, I stay pretty guarded. You know what I'm saying? That's probably the hardest part about of being a civilian in my case, I guess. Let me just man, those guys. I will tell you, like, was he worth $25 billion? I don't know if he was worth $25 billion, but I will say something. He probably had like $25 billion at that time. If that $25 billion was $1 billion, $2 billion. I'm just gonna think if it was one, two. Just say he was worth $3, $4 billion, $5 billion. At that time, don't forget he had the game on lock, so it was just him. You know, he's the one that started the whole like Colombians couldn't work in Mexico and started kind of taking the drug trade from the Colombians. He worked directly with Pablo Escobar and stuff like that. It's just he was on another level. I feel like I heard of the Javalinas, but I'm not sure. Like if like I want to tell you the name, but the Santana, maybe just differently. Don't forget they have different names and stuff like that.
Too many to keep up with sometimes.
Yeah, what I'm saying to how the public knows them, they could be that, or to how we know them, it could have been something. And don't forget what they do; they start switching their names as the time goes
What's
by.
behind all the
You
girly
know?
name stuff? When they get names, that kind of reference
Yeah,
them as a girl.
yeah. Like especially if they say "la" like something. You know what I'm saying?
Right. That's all busting balls that becomes a person's name, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Person's name, yeah, for sure. And Mechita was too small when I was there, because he was too young. Man, Alberto, honestly, like that question would be posed, but what? If they are, then what? What makes the difference?
It's all the same
I
shit.
mean,
It's been the
everyone
same
knows
shit.
it, all that,
Cause that's one of mine.
all
I like
that's
that
like,
one. That one's a good one right there. You know what I'm saying? But it is what it
it's
is.
like what I'm saying. If they are, here's what I'm saying. It goes back to this. Here's the issue that the government, like today's government, can't be responsible for those governments in the '80s, right? Like I don't believe in that. I don't believe that me myself because I'm judged in this way. But just say that you know the person who's in charge today is not the same person. Doesn't carry the same morals of the person that was there yesterday. So, I just don't believe it, even with law enforcement. Man, the dudes that did that to us when we were back then are not the same dudes today. But we're quick to look at everyone as a whole, and these are individuals, right? But and then we'll get insulted if everyone looks at us like the worst kind because we're Mexican or Puerto Rican. You ever get that? So it's like, just say, do they? What are they gonna? How are they gonna be held accountable? How? By giving back time? You can't give back time. Like how?
There is no held
Um,
accountable, but the idea and the thought of it is, let's just say you get your checkpoints going south, right? Is that going to hurt the pockets of a lot of people in shadowy places and families that have been around for a long time in this country? Is that going to hurt their pockets too? The people
I
believe
mean,
that
it's
they're
part
part
of
of the
what I'm
game
saying.
now that they always
It's
have been.
collateral damage. Just to put things in perspective. Okay, just say, all right. How about this? All right, forget the drugs, forget all that. Just say it's gonna happen. Just say we don't blame anyone for doing the drugs. We don't blame, the Sacker family. We don't blame Purdue or Johnson. Just say we don't blame anybody, right? We don't blame the government for crack or whatever the case. Just say we don't. All right. So just say what if, because we're quick to blame the government, right? But what if the government was right? What if the people of the 1980s, right, that decided not to fund the Contras? What if they were wrong? Because we're fighting communists, right? We're fighting, communists spreading into Latin America because Russia's, we're at a Cold War with Russia, right? Were they wrong for trying to fix a solution that maybe Americans voted on, and maybe we just didn't see the bigger picture?
It's
So it's
kind of the
basically
same
it's
way. It's
like,
kind of the same way you talk about with the whole cooperation thing. Is that there's a bigger picture to all of it. You know what I'm saying? But
like
but but as somebody would say in the chat, they said at the expense that your friends had to pay for it. They did that at the expense of a crack epidemic. That was it coming either way?
yeah, that's why I think that's the question we don't know. But I will tell you this: if the Iran Contra, just say it did help, okay? Just say, oh, so what if this? Did they help? You know, what do you call it? What was it? Who was it? The Nicaraguan people, or later on Salvadorian people, whoever was involved. Did they help them? Did you save lives there? Did you save Russia from invading Nicaragua or Panama or whatever was coming? Kind of think about that. Did it make America what it is today? Collateral damage, right?
So you think it's just ignorance? Like it's just the stuff is getting into the country just because y'all are that good on the other side of the border to get it through, or these dudes is opening lanes for shit to happen and then shut down whenever they want to shut down and let it open. September 11th came, everybody stopped everything everywhere.
Yeah, everyone. I think that it was more like, all right, for drug traffickers like us and all those, I'm a shit. Like, that was my come up, But on the other side of the border, like everybody's like, oh shit, they're gonna be looking for bombs. They're gonna be looking for terrorists. Like, don't send your shit across. It's gonna get caught. You know what I mean? Fear. Where we're all motivated out of fear, guys. That's the first thing. And I also think it's mindset. I just think it's mindset. The hardest thing to do, what I've seen working with law enforcement, is changing their mindset because they're trained that they know everything. And how to do things is just passed on over and over again. The same way like you would pass on, our culture, the same way my father passed on, drug trafficking to me and all that. Kind of the same way.